So hello everyone and welcome back to the channel Joglang Journo, where I bring together my passions for geography, languages and journalism. I have a wonderful guest. My wonderful friend Sam is back. We are in the beautiful Western Park in Sheffield right now, and you've come up, Sam, because you're going to tell me all about your magnificent adventure around Southern Europe and the Balkans. So if you're not aware, this man has been to 10 countries in 16 days, and I'm going to try and get it all right. So you saw me back in Kraków in the south of Poland, and then from there you went to Warsaw, capital of Poland. From there you went to Hungary,
Budapest.
then Slovenia,
Yeah.
then into Croatia.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Croatia, then to Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yeah.
Then to Serbia.
Yeah.
Is that right? And then you flew back from Serbia to London to spend, was it like 24 hours or just a few hours in London, basically?
Between 10 and 15 hours, yeah.
And then you flew from London to Tallinn in Estonia, you went to Helsinki in Finland, and then from there you went to Lithuania and Latvia to complete it.
That's correct.
So many people might think this is absolutely crazy, Sam. So how on earth did you visit 10 countries in 16 days?
Well, it took quite a little bit of planning, I'd say. I mean, obviously Kraków and Warsaw were always on the cards because we were going to, obviously I was going to visit a friend who's studying abroad in Warsaw, and I met Nelson and met that friend Kai in Kraków, and that was obviously my first place. And when I was kind of looking at going there at the time, I was just finishing my TEFL course, so that TEFL course was very intense alongside my university degree, so I felt like I needed something to look forward to and something to keep me going, and I think doing this trip would give me the opportunity. So some of them were late additions, like Helsinki was literally an addition while I was on the trip, so some of them were late additions. So the first place I knew that I was going to go to was Budapest, Hungary, mainly because that's somewhere I've always wanted to go, and somewhere that I didn't go on my recent December trip, and I'm very glad I did go. Budapest, an amazing city, one that I'd highly recommend if you haven't been. Also Slovenia, that's somewhere I've always wanted to go, beautiful place as well. Went to Bled and Ljubljana, and then also from there, obviously Croatia, also somewhere I've always wanted to go, great place, and saw Zagreb, the capital of Croatia, brilliant place in Bosnia. This was a little bit more of a later edition, but I do not regret a thing because it was absolutely incredible. So one of the best countries that I've ever been to, and somewhere that your expectations might not be very high, but when you go there, honestly, it's absolutely incredible, particularly if you go on a beautiful sunny day, because I went and it was 27 degrees, and it just made the trip a lot better as well. I'll tell you a bit more about the waterfall excursion that I did a little bit later on in the video, but also I went to Belgrade in Serbia from there, an amazing place as well. I got an overnight coach from Zagreb to Bosnia, which is Sarajevo, and then Sarajevo to Belgrade as well. Belgrade's always somewhere I've had quite a fascination for, really, mainly because I know a lot about, I've always heard a lot about Belgrade from travellers who've been there, saying it's one of the most underrated cities in the world, and I definitely agree now I've been there. It's got a population of around 2 million people, so a lot of countries that I went to on this trip, it's was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Belgrade, and honestly, again, 32 degree heat in Belgrade, so I was blessed with the weather, and that made it even better as well. Amazing people. That was one thing I was slightly concerned about in Belgrade, was the will it be alright with the people? Because obviously it does have a little bit of a reputation, Belgrade, for being slightly dangerous, but it's actually a very safe place, really, to be honest, and the people there are very, very friendly. And then obviously flying from there, had a bit of a stop in London, and then went to Tallinn, but I literally went straight to Helsinki from Tallinn. And Helsinki, again, like going from Belgrade to Helsinki was a real culture shock, because they're very different places, and the weather difference between the two was crazy. So I went from 32 degree Belgrade to 7 degree Helsinki. So little bit of a come down in weather, it's fair to say. But Helsinki's
a bit of a jump, isn't there?
Helsinki's a great place. Got the ferry from Tallinn to Helsinki as well. Took about 2.5 hours, and I had nothing but good things to say about Helsinki. I did a walking tour there. Looked around the city centre. The people in Helsinki, so friendly as well. I think it's known as the happiest country in the world, Finland, by a lot of people, and certainly they live up to that, really. It's a very, very nice place, and they're so friendly, and the tourist office people kept me talking for about 30 minutes, so they're very chatty people as well. And Tallinn as well, a very medieval place. Tallinn is really old-fashioned place, Tallinn. One of the most unique places I've ever been to, but the architecture in Tallinn, Estonia, is certainly something to behold, to be honest. If you ever go to this church in Tallinn, where it's got some of the best architecture I've personally ever seen, really, really nice. And then Lithuania, I went to a place called Trakai to begin, very, very nice place, and also went to Vilnius, the capital. Lithuania's very nice as well, very friendly people, rely quite a lot on their tourism, I'd say, Lithuania, so definitely a place that I'd recommend checking out. And then Latvia, Riga, I finished off in. And yeah, it was quite easy to navigate my way to and around these places. Obviously, once I flew from Belgrade to Tallinn, it was very easy to get from Tallinn to Helsinki, then Helsinki back to Tallinn, and then to get to the other places in the Baltics was also very easy by coach. I did get an overnight coach, though, from Tallinn over to Vilnius, which was absolutely fine because I was flying home from Tallinn, so I went the furthest one, and that was a good experience as well. And yeah, again, great experiences. And the most unique thing about Tallinn for me as well, going back to Tallinn, was the airport is quite close to the city centre, only an hour's walk and only about a 10-minute drive. So compared to other cities that you go in Europe, the Tallinn airport is very close by, and the connections by transport there are also very good, as they were actually in all of the Baltics, actually. And I got a train from Lithuania, from Vilnius to Trakai, the Trakai Castle, and that was like half an hour on the train. Very slow train, but a very good experience as well. I wasn't quite blessed with the weather in the Baltics, admittedly. That was a little bit of a shame, but still a great experience because it's a very unique part of Europe, and the people are just so friendly, and they speak great English as well if you're worried about a language barrier.
Well, that's absolutely magnificent, Sam, and I guess I just wanted to ask you, so you went from the heart of Central Europe, in Poland essentially, all the way to the Baltics, which are, you know, just right on the edge of the border with Russia. But what were your highlights? What were the best moments of this incredible journey you went on?
I mean, there's so many to choose from. I mean, like literally, so when I went to Budapest, I think Budapest was the first place that I went to, and that's not discrediting Kraków or Warsaw. They are both nice places, but Budapest was the first place that I went to where I was like, wow, this is incredible. I was really helped by the fact I had the weather. I did the night cruise in Budapest as well. Not an overnight cruise, just a night cruise during the evening where it's dark, which I definitely recommend to any traveller going to Budapest. You have to do that because you really get a great view of the big Parliament building lit up. You've also got the Fisherman's Bastion, which is incredible as well, and Citadella, where you get great views of Budapest. So yeah, Budapest was a city that I went to that was incredible. And then after that, every single day for about a week was just absolutely amazing. So when I went to Slovenia in Lake Bled, an amazing place, and Lake Bled again, if you get the weather, it's absolutely incredible. You're around a lake. It takes about an hour to walk around the lake itself. And what's in the lake as well is very bizarre. They've got a church within the lake, I believe, so that was quite interesting. Then you've got Ljubljana, beautiful place, very friendly people. Quite a small country, Slovenia, but certainly one that a lot of people are big fans of. You get good views of the mountains as well.
Yeah, absolutely
while you're
magnificent nature from the looks of it in Slovenia.
Great nature,
blessed
great nature.
with beautiful landscapes.
And then when I went to Zagreb, I mean, I got told by people before going to Zagreb that it maybe is quite unspectacular, but I loved Zagreb, you know. Again, I had the weather, I did a walking tour there, and the people were so friendly. And yeah, Zagreb for me was an amazing place, and I just really liked that it kind of told a story about what Croatia was really like, to be honest. And yeah, I was a real big fan of it, particularly the main square in Zagreb, because I stayed in a hostel in Zagreb that was right within the main square, literally 10-second walk from the main square. So I was right in the heart of the city. And yeah, I think Zagreb, again, a great place, and they're really passionate people about their nationality as well, Croatians. So that was a good experience speaking to them about Croatia.
Definitely.
As a country.
And I think going to Southern and Eastern Europe, you can really see that passion and that competition and that fire in them as well.
And then comes Bosnia and Herzegovina, which, to be honest with you, I mean, that's probably my main highlight just because of how good it was. I mean, I did a waterfall excursion there where I went to the Lats of Mostar. So I started off in Sarajevo, had a little bit of a walk around Sarajevo, went to Mostar, then I went to loads of these beautiful waterfalls, and my God, they were just incredible. I mean,
it looked like a utopia. The waterfall you visited looked absolutely incredible. Like honestly, it was phenomenal.
So when I was in Fiji a couple of years ago, I got told we were going to this amazing waterfall, and it kind of let me down. It wasn't very good in the end. It was very underwhelming, and we were all disappointed, but we wanted to be grateful to our tour guide, so we didn't say that at the time. But when we got back, we said we were very disappointed. But this one, though, that's kind of lowered my expectation maybe of waterfalls. But this one, though, honestly, like, yeah, this completely blew my expectations away. It was absolutely amazing, and some of the photos that I got to get while I was there as well.
Don't worry, we're going to show lots of photos across this video, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it was honestly incredible. So yes, Bosnia was amazing, and the tour guide that I had as well was so nice as well. Always looking out for people, obviously, because you're in a unique environment when you're in Bosnia. But at one point, I went to get a bottle of water from this restaurant, and I sat outside with a view of the waterfall, and I was just like, wow. This
Pinching
really
yourself
is
a little bit.
Pinch yourself moment, really was incredible. And then from obviously Bosnia, after an amazing day there, I went to Belgrade, and the highlight of Belgrade for me has got to be the fortress. The fortress in Belgrade is absolutely incredible. You get a view of the city from there, you get great views of like nature as well. Belgrade really is an amazing city, and I think when I was in Belgrade, I was speaking to people from Australia, from down under from Australia, and they were saying to me, you don't get this sort of things in Australia, which obviously that's some compliment, because obviously Australia's good, you know, I'm sure I've not been before yet, but it's meant to be a beautiful place. So
I'm sure
Belgrade really was an incredible experience. And also as well, I went to this stony beach in Belgrade. We had a lot of restaurants. Unfortunately, a lot of them were closed because of the season. I think it wasn't quite the summer season yet. But again, I think Belgrade being 32 degrees, that's quite unique for the start of April. So it wasn't meant to be 32 degrees in terms of their usual weather standard. But yeah, it really was an amazing experience, Belgrade. And again, a city that I've always wanted to go to, a country that I've always wanted to go to. But I met a lot of Belgrade locals, and when I say Croatians are passionate about where they're from, yeah, Serbians are another level of that. They really do love it. I was speaking to this lady who just graduated from university, and she was on about how much she loves Belgrade and how she grew up there, and she'll never say a bad word about it. So yeah, it really was amazing, to be honest. And
brilliant. You've got to speak to the locals to get that local insight, Sam, haven't you? Honestly, it enriches your travel experiences and adventures so much more, and you feel so much more connected to the places when you really engage with the locals.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And I mean, when I went to Helsinki, like I was mentioning to you, they speak such good English in Finland that sometimes it can be hard to tell if they are English or if they are Finnish, because there was a few people I was speaking to I thought were actually English because they spoke that good English, but they told me they're actually born and raised in Finland and they live there. But yeah, and I think with a place like Helsinki, again, they you know, Scandinavians speak great English, don't they? But Finland is very much out the way from the rest of Scandinavia. But one thing I can definitely
I don't think it's actually part of Scandinavia necessarily, because I think that's Denmark, Norway and Sweden. Yeah. But essentially it's part of Northern Europe, isn't it, which shares a lot of kind of similarities.
Yeah, but one thing I do have to say to people though who are going to Helsinki, just be prepared for the prices, because it's very expensive. And that's not me, I know that's a stereotype, but it's a true one, because prices there, even in supermarkets, are very expensive. So even if you go to buy a bottle of water or something like some fruit, you're probably going to be paying more, believe it or not, than you would be anywhere else in Europe, or if not, the rest of the Scandinavian countries may be similar to that. But even so, though, yeah, Helsinki's a great place. And also in Helsinki, the Suomenella Fortress, I've got to mention. I might be pronouncing that wrong, so apologies if I am. But the Suomenella Fortress, wow. I mean, honestly, incredible. A lot of people in Finland told me it was quite similar to the Scottish landscapes. I've not seen Scottish landscapes other than
we did go to Glasgow and Edinburgh, didn't we?
Maybe Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh, perhaps. But
what a gem that was! Check out my Edinburgh travel blog.
Yes, the Suomenella Fortress, though. Honestly, oh my word, it was incredible. But the only issue with it was the wind. Oh my god, I felt like I was going to blow off the top of the hill. I was taking videos with my phone, and it was like I was literally spinning around with my phone because I couldn't keep my balance. I was worried about my phone blowing away. So I had to not take too many videos and photos, unfortunately. But honestly, if you're going to Finland, Helsinki, it's only a 15-minute cruise, a 15-minute boat journey over to the Suomenella Fortress. You've got to do it. It's honestly absolutely incredible, and you won't regret it at all. Whether you do it during the winter or the summer, I'd probably not recommend the winter if it snows, of course, because in Helsinki they do get quite a lot of snow, so you've got to be a bit careful with that. So even a week before I went to Helsinki in April, they had a snowstorm at the end of March. So clearly,
yeah, it's very northerly latitudes, isn't it? And I guess I just wanted to add to that, Sam, because obviously you essentially went from southern Europe, you know, sort of near the Balkans, right to kind of very northern Europe in the Baltics. So what did you get in terms of, what sense did you get of the differences? Again, we alluded to it earlier, but between like the Baltics and sort of more southern European, those kind of cultures that you experienced?
I think that the main thing about Northern Europe, obviously you've got Helsinki, that I certainly noticed difference to the other countries. They come across a lot more talkative, I'd say. I'm not saying people in the Southern Europe aren't talkative by any means, because some of them were, but talkativeness of the Finnish people was definitely on show. Even in the Baltics, actually, that was definitely there to be seen as well. So when I went to Tallinn from Helsinki, they're very talkative. And Tallinn, it's fair to say, I went to this restaurant where they've got a medieval sort of theme, and they would like literally stand at the front, the waitresses, they'd be dressed in like medieval clothes, singing and dancing, and then when they'd take your order, they'd still stay in character as well. So that was definitely different. And,
wow, unique experience.
Something that I enjoyed. That was right in the heart of the Tallinn Old Town, so right in the heart of the city as well. So that was a really interesting experience. But I really loved it though, because it really made me feel like I'm in a different world, which is what you want when you're abroad. You want to
That's
feel
what travelling's
like
all about, isn't it? It's that immersion in new
place.
worlds, new cultures.
Yeah,
and having
because
these
my
new
international
experiences.
coordinator, she's from Estonia, and she was telling me a little bit about it by messages, and she hadn't been there for about 10 years or so, so obviously it was interesting when I went to maybe tell them what it was like, because she hadn't been for so long, and it's a well-developed city, great views as well, very good panoramic views in I'd say in Tallinn that you can get as well from good spots. They've got a cathedral you can go to the top of and take good views as well, take good photos and videos. So that's something I love. I love city views. When I got some good ones in Zagreb as well. That's another thing that I didn't mention. The views there were also incredible, but they were in most cities, to be fair, that I went to. And then Lithuania, of course. I mean, the Trakai Castle, got to be a highlight, I mean, amazing. Bit of a shame I never quite had the weather when I was there, admittedly, because as soon as you get off the train, you're right near the big river, and it was raining a little bit, so a little bit of a shame I never quite had the weather, but it was very, very good, though. The train, even get the experience of getting the train in Finland, Lithuania, was very good, because they're kind of unique trains, really. They're very clean trains, though. The staff members are really nice and stuff, so yeah, that was a good experience, but quite a slow train. Took me half an hour to get from Vilnius to Trakai, which is quite far. It's quite long, to be honest, but they did have a lot of stops on the way. That'll probably be why. And then yeah, in the castle, the Trakai was amazing as well. A lot of history there, and yeah, really, really nice place, to be honest. And I think that it's a bit of a walk to get from the station to the castle, about half an hour, but you see some good things on the way. And I actually went to speak to some people who worked in a shop on the way, and they were telling me all about that they want a lot more tourism from British people maybe in that area, because it is growing in that area of Europe, that's for sure.
Definitely,
and,
it's such a kind of undiscovered, part of Europe, essentially. So a lot of, Western sort of Europeans might not be particularly aware of it, but there are some huge gems and so much kind of history and culture to get immersed in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I went to Vilnius afterwards as well, the Vilnius castle, I mean, wow, absolutely amazing. So in Vilnius, I was staying literally about a 10-minute walk from the castle. So obviously to get to the castle, you can either walk up some steps or you go up this like a cable car sort of thing to get there. Not really a cable car, but similar to that, and you get there through that. And that was a really good experience as well. But the castles and the views you get at Vilnius are incredible from there. So you get the view of the river, the buildings. So that for me was a huge, huge highlight, I'd say.
Excellent. And you finished in Latvia. So final comment on Latvia.
Oh wow, Latvia, great place as well. I met some lovely people in Latvia. A lot of people speak great English there as well. Yeah, passionate people about where they're from, I'd say as well, Latvian people. And obviously a lot of Latvian people do tend to move away from Latvia, but the people who I met there, a lot of them had moved away before in life, but they ended up going back to Latvia in the end. But yeah, no, they're a big fan of it. And again, the river there, amazing, to be honest with you. And you get a chance to do a cruise in Latvia. I never actually did that, but I did some great things. You've got the House of the Blackheads, which is very, very fun there as well. A lovely old town square as well. But yeah, Riga's a brilliant place. And again, another hidden gem, really. I think all the Baltics are hidden gems, really. Tallinn, Vilnius and Riga, or in even cities within them countries, got some good hidden gems there, to be honest. And they are growing in popularity with tourism, but I really found them to be very fascinating places. And in terms of an old-fashioned feel, I definitely got that when I was in Riga, to be honest. Yeah. And Tallinn and Vilnius, I felt like it was old-fashioned. So yeah, that was a really, really good experience for that reason. But yeah, I mean, in terms of a trip though, if I have to pick out one country...
You know what, you've just beamed me to the question, because I was just going to ask you, I mean, it's so tough, but how on earth can you even decide? Do you have a particular favourite place, favourite country that you visited on this incredible odyssey?
I mean, it's honestly, again, like I mentioned, I think it's got to be one of them countries. As much as I liked every single place that I went to, I've tried to do a ranking, but it just doesn't work for me. I tried to rank, but I just can't separate certain countries from certain positions. So it's got to be one of them between Budapest and Belgrade. If I'm having to pick one, though, I mean, I think the most unique experience, and one that I'll never forget, is definitely Bosnia and Herzegovina. I think Budapest is more of a postcard city compared to the others that I went to.
It's very well known now.
A lot of people go Budapest. It's quite well priced in Budapest. It's easy to get flights there from the UK or wherever you're based. So I think Budapest is more of a postcard, but I did prefer the unique places personally. So yeah, if I'm having to pick one, I'm going to have to go with Bosnia and Herzegovina.
And to be honest, I wouldn't dispute that. I mean, obviously I didn't go, but from what I saw, Sam, this place looked absolutely phenomenal. And honestly, Bosnia and Herzegovina has shot very close to the top of my kind of travel list for the coming years.
The way that I ended up going to Bosnia and Herzegovina was I was on the phone to Nelson and we mentioned about visas, talking about about visas, and I said that if I was from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and then we were laughing that I used that example, and then I was like, wait, where is that in Europe?
Exactly, because Sam, you'd already told me you were going to be going to Croatia. Now, Bosnia and Herzegovina is basically the neighbour to Croatia, and then you're already going to be going to Serbia, so you kind of had to do it in the end.
So when Nelson told me that, I looked on the maps and I looked at the prices for the Flixbus, and I did it. I did the price for the Flixbus, and went from there, and I booked it, and I regret absolutely nothing, because Sarajevo and Bosnia itself was one of the best experiences I've ever had in terms of a travel experience. It really was incredible. So from the first Europe trip that I did in December, I always say my favourite place was Vienna, and I think the reason for that was the uniqueness of Vienna, the maze, the cathedral, the Christmas feel it had as I went in December, which is very important as well. But I feel like this trip for me was a lot less postcard countries and cities, and a lot more unique places.
Definitely.
Where
off the beaten track a bit more.
A lot of fellow travellers hadn't been to, and I also did some cities as well, like Trakai in Lithuania, and also did some unique places really. So I think that for me helped this become more of a unique experience for me, and more of an experience that I'll never forget, because it was one of them that while I was on the trip I didn't want it to end, to be honest with you. I was
absolutely
when I was in Riga on the last day, I was like, wow, I'd love to do a bit more travelling, but I feel like I've done my fair share in the last couple of weeks. So,
for sure. I mean, 10 countries in 16 days. I mean, what an absolutely magical kind of adventure you had, Sam. And I guess the final kind of point, just in case you've got an extra point afterwards, we can get to that. But I wanted to say, for people that are watching that maybe at the moment don't quite have the confidence, or I don't know, the belief or the kind of desire that they can achieve something like this. I mean, what would you suggest to those travellers? Some of my viewers might be watching thinking, I'd love to do something like this, but how can they?
I think a lot of people kind of, who are from the UK, that they want to travel outside of Europe. So a lot of people, when they go travelling, will travel to, the Middle East, or they'll travel to somewhere in East Asia, or somewhere in Asia. But I feel like Europe has got a lot to see. And my main reason why I wanted to do Europe was, well, number one, because obviously it's cheaper. but number two, good to get from UK there. But number two, I think that it was just seeing parts of Europe that maybe I never expected to see, for example. So going to Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also going to like Belgrade in Serbia, going to these places that, yes, these are quite common tourist places for some people, but I feel like it's somewhere you just got to kind of go to, and then no matter what you hear about the country, the reputation they've got, because look, I was told quite a lot about Belgrade in the past, about how dangerous it is, but I never had any trouble there whatsoever. I literally got on with people so well there. The locals were amazing, the people in my hostel were amazing as well. They looked after my bag when I went out for the day, and so, and that's what a lot of hostels were doing. I was saying, sorry, can I leave my bag here if you've got no lockers? They're like, oh yeah, we'll look after it, and they locked it up for me. So
wonderful. But just generally, Sam, in terms of like an odyssey and an adventure like this, 10 countries in 16 days, what do you think people need to have in terms of their mentality to do such?
I think a lot of people might be hearing that and going, that's way too many countries in 16 days. Like, how do you see enough of each country? Well, I think that certain countries you can do a day or two in. So for me, I went to Budapest, for example, for 2.5 days, but I went to countries like I went to Lake Bled for the day, Ljubljana. You can do them countries within a day, and yes, you might want to spend a bit longer there to get more of a cultural feel, and that's fair enough, but for me it's all about seeing the main attractions and mixing with the locals as well, and I feel like a day is plenty to do that. But if you wake
everyone
up nice
travels
and
in
early,
different ways at the end of the
if
day.
you can travel if you can get up nice and early in the morning, I'd usually wake up about 8:30, 9 o'clock, get out there, get some breakfast, whether in the hostel or whether in a local cafe, and just go out and do. You've got more than enough time to spend 12, 13 hours, and you can see a lot of the country, whether by public transport or whether on foot. So I'd say no matter where you travel to, just see all these different places, because obviously I know the budget's going to play a part there, but try and see as much as you can at the end of the day, because, for example, when I was in Lithuania, when am I going to get a better chance to go to Latvia and Estonia? When I'm in Lithuania, when am I going to get better chances?
It's making the most of it. It's squeezing out the most from every single day you've got available.
Absolutely, and I feel like the first part of the Europe trip that I mentioned, so from Kraków up to Belgrade, well, down to Belgrade in that case, that was obviously a case of like, it was a lot of countries, but it was like a lot was done in a short space of time, and obviously I had to really get used to that. And by the time I'd been there for 2 weeks on the whole trip, it really felt like it'd been longer than that, because I really felt like I was all multicultural by then, and I really felt like I was seeing
mix
different
of different cultures you sort of would have experienced.
Well, yeah, I think I always say to travellers, it's understandable solo travelling, it can be a difficult thing, and a lot of people don't like solo travelling because they're a bit worried about the loneliness, or they're a bit worried about the safety of it, and I understand that, but For me, it's like I just love travelling solo because I get to go on my own schedule. I don't have to rely on someone else to want to do something else that I don't.
Exactly. You dictate your own days at the end of the day.
You dictate your own days, and you know, for example, I love staying. I was never a big fan of hostels before, but now I've stayed in hostels so many times in the last couple of years. I actually love hostels now.
Yeah, I mean, we stayed in so many in our adventures across Spain last year.
I love meeting people in hostels as well, and you meet people from all around the world in these hostels. So I met a girl in Croatia from Peru, and I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's all the stories you gain, isn't it? It's all the stories, because
Yes.
I think, like with solo travel and with hostels, it's obviously learning to get used to it. And I remember my sort of first full solo travel experience when I went to Lisbon and Cascais right at the end of our kind of study abroad year there. But it is just kind of learning to get used to it. And hostels give you these access to people that are on these magical adventures as well, and you know, align perfectly with lots of your kind of travel interests. So, and it's the stories you gain and from that magical.
I was in Slovenia, and I told Nelson this story already. So I went to this hostel in Slovenia, and it didn't look like a hostel, and it was actually like a house hostel basically, where they had like a proper normal living room, a proper normal kitchen, and it was very much a house hostel where you had a lot of stuff provided for you. And within that hostel as well, there was a lovely dog, of course, and this dog was a very, very cute dog and very loving dog as well, and very nice and friendly with people. But that was a unique experience because I was meeting people in this hostel, yet some people were actually living in the hostel as residents as well, like they were actually living there while they were finding a place to live in Slovenia. So that was quite unique,
it's like a little
in
stopgap
itself.
for them.
That was quite unique in itself, that experience. So yeah, that was something that I really, really enjoyed. But
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, it's been, honestly, Sam, it's been an absolute pleasure to catch up on all those wonderful experiences and this incredible adventure you have. I hope you've all enjoyed listening to Sam speak about his incredible odyssey across 10 countries in 16 days, and we hope it's inspired you a little bit to embark on one of these adventures of your own, because honestly, travel, I always say, travel equals love. At the end of the day, it is just one of the most wonderful things in the world, and once you learn to embrace travel, life just becomes even more special.
I also need to add as well, this wasn't a part of my recent trip, but it's one country that I have to recommend to people, Albania. I went to Albania back in January, and this is one of the best adventures, again, I've ever had in my life. So again, if you're thinking Albania's not a country on your radar, then that needs to be something that's changed, because Albania is some country, and you could probably do Albania on the trip that I just went on, but just make a different route there, maybe, somehow. But yeah, another place I highly recommend to maybe
really
add
is gaining in
to
popularity
the itinerary.
as well.
But yeah, that was again one of the best things I've ever done as well in January. So yeah, another great city that I've had the pleasure of visiting so far this year.
I mean, how have you done it, Sam? It's been absolutely crazy. I mean, this guy, like, since we got back from Spain, I mean, goodness me, how many countries is there? I think it must be over 20 new countries.
Around about 20.
Since then.
It's around about 15 to 20 countries.
I mean, this guy's a bit crazy on some kind of levels, and I can travel in different ways. But again, we hope this has inspired you, and like and subscribe for lots more geography, language, travel, and journalism content on the channel. And we'll see you next time for another video.
Yes, thank you.
Ciao.